Our story commences with Lord Saitu moving a chess knight toward e4. He remarks that every journey has its end. This one is filled with battles that will soon conclude. Saitu faces his final opponent, the Demon Lord. Saitu watches as his chess move manifests in reality. His knight materializes and charges at the Demon Lord with relentless force. Alongside Saitu are his two companions, Anji and Kane. But Sato's eyes widen when he notices a deep wound on Kane's leg. Shock strikes him how he gets hurt. He cannot fathom how an attack of a demon lord could injure someone as formidable as Kane. Urgently, he turns to Anji, requesting her to summon a divine blessing. At his command, Anji prays, pleading for the heavens to grant Satu the miracle of life. Sensing the grim battle, Satu orders Anji to pass the blessing to Kane. As she prays again, Kane, still locked in combat, begins to heal even as he continues his fierce assault on the demon lord. The sight of Kane fighting while his wounds mend fills Anji with overwhelming emotion, and her eyes brimmed with tears. But beneath those tears lies a truth only Saitu understands. It is a truth entwined with the bond between them. Amidst the chaos, Anji's heart clings to a single wish, Kane's safety. Lost in thought, Saitu ponders what will happen after this battle, and how Anji and Kane will return to their hometown. But reality crashes back as he remembers when he is still in a fight that will decide the world's fate. Snapping out of it, he shouts at Kane to strike down the demons. As the battle intensifies, two more warriors, Mulan and Ryza, join the fray. The holy knight Ryza warns against reckless actions, only for the great mage Mulan to tease him, asking what he plans to do if she refrains from them. Seitu had expected their arrival. He knew them well, just as he knew the bond they shared. Turning back to the fight, Seitu commands his chess queen to lend him her power. Obeying, the queen conjures a massive tornado. As Anje instinctively moves toward it, Ryza warns her to stay back if she gets caught, as dust will not even remain. Mulan, however, only smiles, praising her great sage. She confidently declares that even alone, Saitu would have defeated the demon lord. Mulan's words surprise Saitu. In isolation, they had trained under a master of divine power, believing strength was essential to survive the demon war. Yet instead of respect, Saitu had faced ridicule. Yet, ultimately, the queen's overwhelming power turned the tide. With one final blow, the demon lord was vanquished. As Saitu's companions celebrate their victory with hugs, he finds their display irritating, but realizes it is common among lovers. Kane asks if he is okay. Clutching his chest, Saitu states that he is leaving for his previous world. The appearance of a demonic door confirms it is time to go. It is one of the 3 doors capable of surpassing worlds possessed by the demon lord. His master had told him that the chance to return came only after the demon lord's defeat. To activate it, he must use the lingering magic from the souls the demon lord consumed. Just as Saitu opens the door, Kane stops him, insisting they owe him and should handle things from now on. Ryza hands him a wedding invitation, but Saitu irresponsibly dismisses their words. This world was never his to stay in. He thanks them all and turns to leave. But Anje calls out, confessing she has always loved him. Saitu is stunned to hear this. She adds that her feelings never changed, and she will protect this world with Kane. Mulan interrupts, teasing that Saitu is oblivious and Anje is quite bold. When pressed, Mulan admits she once had feelings for Saitu too, but chose someone who looked back at her. Tears well up in their eyes, but both smile and tell Saitu to find happiness in his world. With that, he steps through the door and returns to where he belongs. As Saitu steps through the demonic door, it shatters, shocking his companions. Amid the chaos, he struggles to return, insisting that home is no longer where he belongs. Kane, startled by his defiance, reminds him of the duty awaiting him in his previous world, yet Saitu remains unmoved. If happiness is what he seeks, he believes it lies in this world. What was once an obligation now feels like a choice shaped by the years he has spent here. His words provoke Kane and Ryza, who refuse to accept such recklessness. They argue that the one who saved the world should not speak so carelessly. They pull him back, urging him to move forward, for Anji and Mulan have already let go. His path still stretches ahead. Then suddenly, a powerful explosion erupts. His body contorts, his clothes left behind, as an unfamiliar force twists him out of place. Confusion grips him as he sees his shadow diligently immersed in study. The queen's voice reaches him, asking if he remembers her. Uncertainty clouds his mind as he questions what he has just seen. The queen suggests a bond still lingers, though his memory fails him. It matters, but not yet. Even so, he presses for answers. Suddenly, a girl appears. One whose face he cannot place. The queen speaks again, her voice steady. His previous world still awaits, and his true journey is only beginning. And then comes the moment when Saitu has to return to his previous world. Spinning through the air, he plummets from the sky, crashing onto the ground with a heavy thud. The place where he lands is nothing more than a heap of trash. Dazed, he stares at his surroundings, and the only question echoing in his mind is why he has ended up here. He wants to go home but has no idea where he is. He heads to the main street with no other option, thinking that finding a police station and asking them might be the best course of action. A sudden chill grips him, piercing through his skin. It is only then that he realizes he is naked. Before he can process the shock, the door of a nearby house creaks open, and an older woman steps out. The moment she lays eyes on him, she lets out a sharp scream and calls for the police. Panic surges through him as he scrambles to cover himself, but the woman continues shouting curses at him, refusing to listen to anything he says. Within moments, the police arrive. One of them demands to know what all the screaming is about. The older woman wastes no time pointing at Seitu, informing them that a pervert is standing right there. The officers exchange puzzled looks. One of them eyes Seitu's bare state with clear disdain, muttering that he does not understand why this guy is naked. He remarks how perverts keep increasing as spring comes. Another officer scoffs, questioning whether Seitu is not feeling cold since it is April and asking what he is trying to prove by displaying himself like this. But Seitu has no answer. One of them steps forward and warns him that if he does not explain himself, they will have to arrest him. His breath catches. The thought of being detained at the start of his new journey horrifies him. That cannot happen. Without thinking, Seitu, hastily covering himself, suddenly scrambles up the wall and takes off running. One of the officers yells after him and demands to know why he is running around naked. Seitu barely glances back and shouts that he wants a good journey. The police officers exchange glances, asking one another if they should even bother chasing him. But after a brief moment of consideration, they decide against it. After all, they are off duty, and their drinks are far more critical. Meanwhile, Seitu keeps running, but exhaustion soon catches up with him. Realizing he cannot keep this up forever, he finally decides to go home. He will explain everything to his family, and they will believe him. He is sure of it. But then, all at once, his mind goes blank. His steps slow, his gaze fixed ahead, yet nothing looks familiar. A terrifying question echoes in his head. Where is his home? He cannot remember. Not his house, not his family. Nothing. It all turns into a blur. Fragments of memories suddenly surface. Someone had once told him that his mission in this world would be complete after defeating the Demon Lord. After that, he should have gained enough strength to return to his previous world to reclaim his true self. He must go back and find true happiness. But what it is that he truly wants. The thought lingers, but no answer comes to him. He remembers nothing. A low growl rumbles from his stomach, breaking the silence. At that moment, the door of a nearby house creaks open, and a girl steps outside. The instant Seitu sees her, he instinctively covers himself. His voice trembles as he pleads with her not to scream. He does not mean to be a pervert. He tries to assure her that he is a gentleman and still a virgin, in fact, because he has never even touched a girl. But the girl seems lost in her thoughts, barely paying attention to his frantic explanation. Instead, she suddenly asks if he is Tatsuya. Caught off guard, Seitu panics and nods. Her eyes widen with excitement as she steps closer and urges him to go home together. Before he can protest, she rushes toward him and throws her arms around him, holding him tightly. The unexpected warmth of her embrace freezes him in place. With tears in her eyes, she asks where he has been all this time. Around April, when the cherry blossoms were still in bloom, she had been searching for him. She welcomes him home. Thus, the great sage Saitu's new journey begins. As Seitu analyzes the situation, he realizes that the girl before him is the one he had glimpsed in that distorted space and time between worlds. When he met his end was Kanako, his childhood friend. Kanako's fingers begin tracing over his body as she examines him with intense curiosity. She then touches his skin and remarks that this is not the skin of a 34-year-old. Her hands continue their inspection. She even brushes against his nipples, making him feel deeply embarrassed. She wonders aloud whether she has mistaken him for someone else. She smiles and says she had thought she would finally meet Tatsuya, but concludes that he could not be a pervert. Irritation flickers across his face, but their conversation does not last long. Suddenly, a splash of water crashes onto him from above, and a child's voice demands to know what he is doing. A young girl leaps from the apartment's second floor, attacking him while fiercely warning him to stay away from her mother. Kanako's voice rings angrily as she tells the girl that she cannot do that, and that jumping from the second floor is dangerous. Maya does not stop and continues cursing him, throwing punch after punch as if determined to drive him away. Seitu had left this world when he was just 15, and it has been 19 years since then. He finds it unsurprising that Kanako has a daughter. The way she rushes to protect her mother without hesitation makes it clear to him that Kanako has found happiness. He praises Kanako, admiring the life she has built, but a bitter twinge of jealousy lingers within him. She has changed, while he remains the same. She is a man who has spent 19 years without finding love. It is the life he wants. Maya refuses to back down as if nothing Kanako says will change her mind. Kanako tells her that he is an old friend. Even after Kanako's words, Maya refuses to back down. Meanwhile, Kanako makes a surprising decision. She decides to let Saito take a bath. Both Maya and Saito are left stunned. Kanako explains that being naked and soaking wet on an April night would typically result in death, and if he dies, it will be Maya's fault. Hearing this, her fists clench as she issues a warning that she will kill him after he dries himself. Saito struggles to maintain his composure. He quietly thanks her. Kanako then asks why he is naked. Saito admits that he does not know the answer. When he came to his senses, he was already lying naked at the dump, with no memory of how he got there. Kanako leads him to her home, informing him that the bath is on the second floor and that she will bring him clothes later. Saito thanks her again. He reassures himself that he is not a pervert. A strange thought crosses his mind. Perhaps this is one of those bizarre incidents where someone ends up naked in another person's home. As he moves, he accidentally shatters the bathroom's glass door, feeling like he has crashed into thin ice. During the bath, sharp pain surges through his body, forcing him to scream. But he takes deep breaths and is determined to calm himself down. He pieces together what has happened so far. He returned to this world naked and wandered. He cannot even talk about himself because he remembers nothing. He decides to speak to Kanako and ask for her help. As he catches sight of the clothes Kanako left for him, a faint memory of Tora resurfaces. For him, who has just returned from another world, the sight of those clothes stirs something deep within him. Saito expresses his gratitude to Kanako for both the bath and the clothes, though Kanako apologizes, mentioning that the clothes might smell like an older man. But Maya grows visibly upset. Saito offers to wash the clothes before returning them. He struggles to understand if Maya has an emotional attachment to them. Kanako asks him to sit down for dinner and asks if he likes oyakodon. Saito ultimately gives in at the sight of the delicious food. Maya feels that her mother is being overly kind to this pervert. Kanako remarks that if he is a pervert, he seems sincere. He does not appear to be a bad person. She believes that Saito has endured many hardships, but reassures him that everything is fine now. Saito accidentally calls her mama without realizing it. He gathers the courage to accept that this person would take him without disillusionment. Before he can say anything further, a voice calls out to Kanako from outside. It turns out to be a customer who is completely drunk and demands clothes from Kanako. To Saito's surprise, he recognizes the man as the same policeman from the dumpster earlier. Having forgotten to close her clothing shop, Kanako leaves the table to attend to the customer. She tells Saito to take his time and enjoy his meal. Maya insists that he should leave soon and her mother would be upset if there were leftovers. She urges him to hurry and eat. Saito tells her that he needs to talk to Kanako first. Maya realizes that he knows her mother's name. Suddenly, complete silence fills the room. Magical chains shoot out from electronics, photos, and even the food shelf, leaving Saito stunned. He wonders why something like this would exist in Japan. It turns out to be Maya's doing. She declares that he has broken the barrier she placed at the front door. She explains that normal people would not even realize why they cannot move, but he can see. Saito understands that the strange sensation of thin ice he had felt earlier was the barrier. A sword materializes from beneath a high schooler's skirt. Maya declares that she will beat him until he confesses the truth. She appears almost innocent, creating an odd contrast. The two begin arguing. Maya dangerously raises the sword to his face. Saito insists that he was passing by. Maya demands to know where exactly he came from. To perceive magic, one must be capable of handling it, just as those in 2D cannot comprehend phenomena in 3D. Maya warns him to hurry up. Since he exists in the same dimension, he should be able to use his magic from the other world in Japan. The power from the other world begins to be stored within Saito. Maya shouts at him and asks if he should be scared and confesses. As he moves a chess piece with his hand, Maya warns her that one move could break the chains. Saito attempts to calm her, insists he is not her enemy, and wants her to understand if she lets him speak. But Maya shouts that he has no right to act smart in his current state. Summoning her Shikigami, she launches an attack. Saito, still bound by chains, moves his pawn en passant. The pawn shatters all the chains binding him. Even Maya's sword breaks in one swing, and her Shikigami is dispelled. Saito points out that he never told her his name. He delivers a grand introduction. He declares that he was not born in Japan and has no childhood memories. He came from another world. He is the great sage who studied the ways of magic. People call him the great sage Saito. Maya is left speechless. Glancing to the side, she notices the word lame written nearby. Saito frantically denies any connection, insisting he just happened to wear the same clothes and run his mouth. Maya says she does not understand everything but will listen to his story. Seitu thanks her. Maya then wants to confirm whether the Kashidzu clan is a lower god. She asks for his help to protect her mother, whose life is in danger. She explains that now he can use magic in Japan because his childhood friend is being targeted. Kanako is busy dealing with the customer. Hearing that Kanako's life is in danger, Seitu panics and demands to know what Maya means. Maya gestures toward her ears. Seitu fails to understand if they are being eavesdropped on or if the danger is that close. Through tears, Maya tells him that if they do not clean the room first, they will not be able to do anything. Maya shouts that they are in grave danger. Using his strange power again, he orders the bishop to restore the room. Within moments, the room is spotless. Maya is overjoyed and comments that this treasure is now spiritually more potent than before it was broken. Seitu asks if that is bad, but Maya says it is fantastic. Seitu then presses her for more details about Kanako's situation. Maya says she will explain, but first asks if her mother's eyes are sick. Seitu asks her to be more specific. Maya then explains that two organizations are targeting her mother's eyes. Japan's largest devil group and the prestigious Shimogami school are after Maya's mother's eyes. The Kashidzu clan seeks to harness their power for their benefit, while Shimogami, despite being neutral, aims to prevent them from falling into hostile hands. SA2 realizes they are talking about devils and onmyuji exorcists who exterminate yukai. The presence of a girl with fox ears and a tail before him makes it undeniable. Maya explains that while she descends from a devil family, she is not an active member. Only one person is born with power per several generations, meaning it condenses into a single individual. Her eyes are known as the evil eye that takes all. This confirms what Seitu once heard in the other world, that tens of thousands of souls are needed to open a portal between worlds, and the demon lord has absorbed them all. Seitu wonders if this means Kanako's power rivals that of the demon lord. Maya explains that although her mother possesses immense power, she does not know how to use it, but she remains incomplete. This latent power still puts her in danger. Kanako arrives and becomes sad upon seeing that neither of them has eaten. Maya always eats when there are customers. Kanako asks if she is going through a rebellious phase, prompting Maya to start eating and hurriedly urges Seitu to do the same. They whisper about sensing intruders, 2 from the back, 3 from the front, all possessing magic power. Maya informs Seitu that the Kashidzu have come directly for them. Kanako asks if something is wrong or perhaps the food tastes terrible. The lights go out, and the front door opening echoes through the house. Kanako wonders if it is a power outage. Then, a chilling thought strikes her. Her powerful magic might have accidentally triggered her mother's awakening. She urgently warns Seitu not to mention anything about her mother's power. If she realizes it, she might fully awaken. 2 unknown figures silently enter the house. Seitu struggles to decide what to do. They have concealed their noise so well that they remain undetectable. Kanako searches for her smartphone, asking where she left it. Maya recalls seeing it near the stove. As the 2 intruders approach, Saito punches, overwhelming them with sheer force. Before he can fully react, another figure appears and aims a gun directly at his head. Saito is caught off guard. He does not know if the gun is just a weapon or a medium for casting magic. The man fires. To everyone's shock, the bullets do not hit Saito at all. Kanako finds her phone and turns on the flashlight. She points it towards Saito to check if he is okay. The sudden power outage catches Saito off guard, while Maya absent-mindedly wonders whether they paid the bill. The decoys have already been dealt with, and 3 real threats are approaching from the front. Bishop quietly taps Kanako, sending a strange sensation through her that makes her tense and uneasy. The moment is shattered as the wall bursts open, and an unseen force strikes Seitu from behind. Panic flashes across Maya and Kanako's faces as the attack unfolds. Saito, unprepared for such a direct assault, barely has time to register the situation, knocking his meal to the table. The sight of his untouched Japanese food lying ruined fuels a profound irritation. He has not even had a bite. The creature engages with chess pieces. Seitu silently questions whether it has been halted, knowing its attack had once broken through even the demon lord's defenses. The battle rages on until the queen arrives, capturing the creature in her massive hand. She asks if they should dispose of it properly. Seitu instructs Bishop to return to his standard form. As the lights flicker back, it leaves nothing but the remnants of an overturned meal. Maya exhales as if drained, while Kanako laments the mess and moves to retrieve a tablecloth. Seitu brushes it off as a minor spill and thanks her for the food. Kanako remarks that despite everything, he seems like a good person, even if he is a pervert. Maya hesitates before asking whether he can stay. Her words hang in the air and surprise Seitu. She immediately backtracks and declares that it is impossible. Kanako watches her with quiet curiosity, asking why she suddenly seems so shaken. Maya explains that the man before them has no memories, having awoken naked in this city with no home to return to. She asks Kanako to let him stay. Kanako remains silent for a moment before speaking. She wonders aloud whether it is love. She continues that if it is not love, then it must be something strange. Maya has been calling him a pervert this whole time. Seitu turns to Maya and seeks an explanation. He tries to suppress his growing frustration. Kanako grasps his hands and declares that they should live together. The statement leaves Seitu in disbelief within moments. He has a place to stay and even a girlfriend. Kanako asks his name. He gives it without thought. Seitu. A nervous tension coils within him. If anyone discovers the truth, his childhood friend will see him as nothing more than bad news for getting involved with a 16-year-old girl. Kanako freezes in shock that he is Seitu too. He calmly introduces himself that he is just an ordinary Seitu. After 19 years, Seitu finds himself encountering technology that feels almost unreal. The sleek design of televisions, the efficiency of a robot vacuum, and even the unexpected presence of water in a toaster. Each detail leaves him quietly astonished. Morning arrives, and as Maya steps into view, his gaze lingers on her, drawn by the soft, fuzzy texture of her pajamas. She brings up a phone call, though he struggles to grasp what she means. Kanako remarks that skipping school for love hardly compares to her own decision to drop out of university. Maya insists on taking him out, and when he questions her plans, she mentions a visit to a hot spring. The thought stirs something distant within him. Yet uncertainty lingers just yesterday, for they were under attack. There is no way she lacks a plan. To be cautious, he leaves a piece behind as a lookout, suspecting she might use this trip as an opportunity to reveal why Kanako is being targeted. Still, her insistence on a hot spring remains a mystery. Even so, he finds no reason to refuse. As they make their way toward the destination, Maya points out that, as her mother's childhood friend, he must have once lived here. She asks if the place stirs any memories, but he admits that nothing feels familiar. The town has changed drastically over the years. Many shops now stand abandoned and their doors closed for good. Yet one landmark remains untouched. The Tumyu building, a long-standing establishment that has become the heart of the city's business association and determined to reclaim its influence, much like the Yakuza and Kashizu, the same group from the previous night. For him, returning at this moment could not be worse. She reaches for his hand and insists that, if anything, this timing works in their favor. She suggests they take a bus to the Chiyo Hot Spring Inari Shrine afterward. It is a request that leaves him unsettled. Something about the way she says it makes him realize that this is not just a casual visit. For the leader of a Yuko family, such a decision carries far more weight than it seems. Gangsters suddenly appear and surround Seitu. They demand to know what he is doing with Maya. Maya steps forward, casually dismisses them by stating that they were in the middle of something important and ordering everyone to leave. She then accuses Seitu of being deceived by that cunning fox. Seitu wonders if this man is Maya's boyfriend. He asks who they are, and Maya explains that they belong to the business association of the shopping district. She then reveals that her mother is a widow, a fact that catches Seitu off guard. Since the two girls live alone, these men have taken it upon themselves to protect them. Maya informs them that Seitu has been staying with them since yesterday and begins showering him with praise. She leaves him puzzled by her sudden shift in tone. When she mentions that Mama said so, the men immediately accept it. After all, they cannot go against Kanako's decision. To them, Kanako's judgment is absolute, because she has an uncanny ability to distinguish good from bad. Given the rising number of troubling rumors in the city, they have been increasingly concerned about Kanako's household. They ask Seitu to look after the two girls before taking their leave. As they walk away, Maya reminds Seitu that this is not that kind of date and urges him to keep moving. Seitu starts to find those men likable as well, which is precisely why Maya wants him to lend them his strength. She wants to protect her mother and everyone else. In response, Seitu simply smiles and tells her, "Let's meet the head of the Fox family." Maya thanks him with a smile. During the bus ride, Saitu's condition quickly deteriorates and motion sickness takes a heavy toll. Watching him struggle, the driver remarks that a man approved by Kanako surely would no throw up. But after 19 years without riding a bus, especially on winding mountain roads, Seitu finds himself barely holding on. Maya pats his back and relieves that the bus is not crowded today and asks if he can do something about his car sickness. As the bus finally reaches its destination, Maya turns to Seitu, asking if he is all right. He assures her that he is fine. She then mentions that their stop is the 100-step stairs, leading up to the main shrine, where an untouched hot spring also awaits. Seitu remains silent and his gaze fixed ahead. A lone figure stands before the stairs and captures their attention. Maya suspects that he might be a Komusu, but the man introduces himself as Yukyu, the guardian of Buddhism and a devil blessed with the power of Vajra. Seitu senses that he might be one of the Kashidzu, yet he cannot detect any trace of magic power from him. Yukio declares that any outsider who harms people shall not leave this place alive. As he steps forward, the wind grows fierce and surges around them. Instinctively, Maya and Seitu take a step back, realizing that his magic power has suddenly risen immensely. Yukio, who is caught off guard by Seitu's unexpected defense, removes his helmet. Maya warns Seitu that if Yukio is who he claims to be, then he is the strongest warrior of the Kashidzu clan. Yukio acknowledges Maya for the introduction and calls her Fox Girl. Seitu senses a familiar, overwhelming force which is beyond magic and akin to the Shrine Maiden's power. It is wielded only by masters from another world. Yukio wonders if Seitu can truly control it before launching a devastating punch straight at him. Seitu blocks it, though Yukio only grins in response. The sheer resilience of this warrior stuns Seitu. An attack which is strong enough to shatter a giant ogre had no effect. He prepares to push back. Before their battle escalates, a blur of motion interrupts them. A swift, formidable presence. Azan, who is the guardian fox, steps between them. His strength alone leaves Seitu breathless. He questions Yuku's presence and orders him to leave. Yuku simply remarks that he had been investigating rumors of a goblin threatening a fox child. Though skeptical at first, he now realizes the matter was worth looking into. With that, he departs. Seitu had believed the devils of his world were unmatched, yet he failed to even sense the strength of those standing before him. He wonders why the warriors in Japan are surpassing those from his own realm. Azan, on the other hand, sees things differently. To him, Seitu is an extraordinary force. With deep reverence, Azan bows before Seitu. His form shifts into that of a majestic fox before introducing himself as the shrine's guardian. He leads them to their true destination, which is Chiyo Hot Spring Inari Shrine. It is a home to the head of the Yuko family. As they arrive, Seitu is awestruck by the shrine's grandeur. Azan, who is eager to share its history, instead guides them forward. Suddenly, the head of the Yuko family, Lady Chiyo, approaches them gracefully. Her fox form dissolves into that of an ethereal beauty. Without hesitation, she steps forward and pulls Seitu into a warm embrace. Her voice carries a simple truth. She has waited for him for a long time. Another realization strikes him that she is entirely bare. Her presence is so mesmerizing that for the first time Seitu finds himself completely embarrassed. Chiyo, overwhelmed with emotion, throws her arms around Saito the moment she sees him. Her body presses softly against his and he freezes, caught between shock and confusion. Just as the moment lingers, Maya suddenly grabs him from behind and flips him hard onto the floor. Azan rushes to his side, alarmed. Saito lies dazed, thinking bitterly that being knocked out because of a woman's chest is far from heroic. The scene shifts. He finds himself in a vast, endless library, the place where he once trained daily in another world. The air feels heavy with nostalgia, even though he knows it's only a dream. A strange female voice echoes behind him, sharp and unsettling. It calls him a fool who understands nothing beyond his own experience. Irritated, Saito turns and snaps back, unwilling to be lectured in his own dream. The girl's voice remains calm. A true sage, she says, understands the hearts of others and shares their pain. A sage looks deeper into history and learns from it. Saito recognizes the teachings from his old history lessons. The voice continues, explaining that all lessons are connected, and that people repeat the same mistakes again and again, which is why they must study the past. He answers dryly that his mistakes involve getting hugged by beautiful women and scolded by Maya, hardly lessons of wisdom. The voice softly warns him to stop repeating foolish choices, reminding him that walking new paths is the duty of a sage. Saito's eyes open wide. He's back in the living room. Azan leans over him, relieved yet worried. He tells Saito he carried him there and mentions how troublesome Maya can be. If not for their master, she might already be gone. Outside, a man stands silently. Azan explains that he is Unzan, another guardian fox who now protects the master during recovery. Concerned, Azan offers to call the head of the family. Moments later, Chiyo enters with Maya beside her. Her face is red with shame as she apologizes for her earlier behavior. Saito, smiling kindly, thanks her instead for her concern. The small fox children accompanying her offer him tea, their eyes bright with curiosity. He laughs, gently pats their heads, and thanks them for their warmth. Quietly, Chiyo murmurs that it seems the master has truly returned home. Puzzled, Saito asks who this master is that she keeps mentioning. With a trembling voice, she explains that their master was once a noble lord who ruled the land with a gentle, spiritual heart, and that same aura now surrounds Saito. She kneels before him, tears welling up. She expresses both apology and gratitude for his involvement, even as a stranger, and for still choosing to come. When Saito asks about Kanako's situation, Ichiyo's face turns grave. She explains that everything changed 10 years ago when Maya's father, Jinichi, was killed, but the roots of that tragedy stretch back 400 years, to when she first met the original master. Back then, he had saved a trapped fox. He was a warrior under a corrupt lord, accused of treason and forced to flee. Severely wounded, he was rescued by Chiyo and healed at the mountain's hot spring. Strengthened in body and spirit, he later slew the corrupt lord and became the new ruler. Chiyo tells how the Yuko clan and the master formed a pact. They would protect him and, in return, aid in the harvest. But during the Tokugawa era, rumors of this land's high yield drew unwanted attention. Their hidden existence was exposed, and conflict tore through the clan. The master was eventually assassinated by a user of a cursed eye technique. Many Yuko died by the same hand. In desperation, the survivors began hunting those gifted with that eye, hoping to break the threat. Their numbers dwindled. Chiyo reveals that Kanako was discovered as a descendant of the demon bloodline, and Junichi, Maya's father, was sent to watch over her. 16 years ago, he met the same fate as the master and was killed. Maya suddenly shouts in anger, her voice trembling. She denies her mother's guilt, insisting that her mother always cherished her father's memory and mourned their short time together. Her cry fills the room, cutting through the heavy silence. She also revealed that her mama's power had not awakened yet. Understanding this, Sato felt confused about how Kanako, whose power was still dormant, knew such a thing. Chiyo, equally uncertain, suggested that it might have been through the help of the Shimogami. She explained that those Onmyuji, who were also called gods, had always been kind to Yuko. Sato understood then that their relationship was based on faith rather than true alliance. Chiyo continued, saying that the Kashizu clan had begun to move and had set their sights on Kanako's eyes. In response, the Yuko had asked for cooperation to prevent Maya's mother's eyes from awakening. In exchange, they were demanded a down payment of several 100 million yen and Kanako's left eye. Hearing this, Maya erupted in fury, but Azan and Unzan restrained her to stop her from causing trouble. After hearing the full story, Saito asked Chiyo for permission to ask a few questions, and she agreed. He asked what kind of person with the gifted eye could kill both a Yuko and their master. Chiyo replied that she had not witnessed it herself. She had been imprisoned there because of the protection contract. After the master's death, she only heard that the same technique user had obtained them. She added that the wounds matched the master's, though identifying the culprit by wounds alone was difficult. Saito reflected on the fact that everything she knew was secondhand. He concluded that it was undoubtedly the work of the Shimogami school. He explained that Onmyuji had existed since the Heian period and often concealed their power before striking in the other world. Saito then asked one final question about the Shimogami, asking whether they had lowered the price of the protection contract. Chiyo broke down in tears and said they had. She revealed that they demanded she marry someone if matters were to be settled peacefully. Saito realized they had started with an impossible demand, only to lower it to obtain what they truly wanted. Maya flared up in anger. Chiyo, now confused, finally understood that they were targeting Maya. Saito reasoned that they had posed as someone with the gifted eye, weakened the Yuko, and pretended to be allies to gather information. The Yuko had relied on them for 400 years. During that time, they kept others away until the Yuko could no longer stand on their own. Even at the end, they pushed them toward compromise. Their aim was to claim the Demon King's eye and the God of Harvest for themselves. Though furious, Saito remained calm and bitterly assumed that the Shimogami's leadership was corrupt to the core. He then asked about the Kashizu clan. Chiyo explained that while they employed many strong individuals, they had recently been harassing the area to undermine the Yakuza. The only reason they had not acted openly was to avoid an all-out war with the Shimogami. She believed they were searching for a Shihayuman. Saito grasped the general situation, but one question lingered. He wondered why both factions had begun to move now. He questioned whether the Shimogami had pushed them or whether Kashizu had outplayed them. He wished he could see the entire board, believing he would then understand what had happened from the start. Maya and Azan asked Saito what they should do. He looked at them in silence. With firm resolve, Chiyo asked him for help and declared she would do anything. Saito froze. The feeling was the same as when he once chose to fight the Demon King, reaching for happiness he could never grasp. This time, it felt within reach. He quickly brushed the thought aside, knowing people repeated the same mistakes. Still, some paths could only be understood by walking them. Choosing a new path was the duty of a sage. Above all, this involved his childhood friend's daughter and her aunt. Maya then asked what they should do first. Saito admitted to Fio that he was not fully certain of the circumstances and that many things remained unclear. To be safe, he asked if she could arrange a meeting so he could speak directly with the Shimogami school. Chiyo worried about the danger, but Maya confidently agreed, believing they should end things quickly if they were to act. Saito refused. He calmly explained that they were not facing the Demon King's army. Their objective was not to defeat the enemy but to ensure the safety of Kanako, Maya, Chiyo, and the others. Settling the matter peacefully without leaving unnecessary grudges would be enough. Maya failed to understand, but Chiyo agreed, saying that although they held resentment for their fallen brethren, securing the future was their highest priority. Maya shouted that they should not comply if the Shimogami refused, but Saito silenced her, stating that they would annihilate them with all their strength if necessary. A strange voice echoed in his mind, telling him he had grown and no longer needed love shackles. Saito wondered if his words had been too aggressive. The voice denied it, suggesting there was no need to dwell on it. Even so, Saito questioned whether his choice was truly the right one. Saito knows he cannot betray their expectations. For now, he suggests strengthening their defenses. When Chiyo asks about setting up the barrier, Saito assigns the roles of rook and pawn to Unzan. Unzan stares in shock at the massive barrier, far superior to his own. He understands immediately, though the scale still surprises him. Saito smiles and says it is enough that Unzan is surprised. He tells them that the pieces will contact him if anything happens and instructs them to avoid unnecessary trouble. Azan looks at the 5 divine pieces with awe and asks how they could ever repay Saito. At the same time, Maya pulls a katana from her pants. It is the sword she borrowed from her aunt Chiyo for their house barrier. Chiyo shouts in shock, demanding to know where Maya kept it. She notices the sword looks different and asks what happened. Maya calmly explains that her big brother Saito broke it and fixed it. Chiyo freezes and asks if he broke it yesterday at Maya's house. She takes the sword and reveals that it is a talisman the master gave her just before his death. He told her to use the katana to protect herself and survive. When the katana is reborn, time will have moved on, the era of tension will end, and they will meet again. Everyone turns to Saito in stunned silence. Maya remarks that the timing matches perfectly. Saito feels shocked and uneasy and refuses to acknowledge it. Maya shouts that it is fine, and that it means he is finally free to do whatever he wants. She checks her phone and says it is time to go home since the bus is arriving soon. Chiyo invites them to stay for lunch, but Maya declines. Saito briefly wonders what lunch at a hot springs inn would be like. Before they leave, Chiyo asks Saito for his contact information. Smiling, he tells her she can contact him through his pieces. Chiyo looks confused and says she can already hear him if she calls out. Maya asks if he does not have a smartphone. Saito replies that if he remembers correctly, it is this era's mobile phone. When Maya suggests buying one, he admits he has been gone for 19 years and lacks a family register, making it hard to prove his identity. With quiet sadness, he says they can communicate through magic. Blushing, Chiyo offers to let him use her smartphone. Saito blushes as well and asks if it is really okay. She tells him that if he stays a little longer, she will teach him how to use it. Maya immediately shouts that they are going home. On the bus, Saito keeps staring at the phone. Maya warns him that staring like that will make him carsick again. Smiling happily, he says it is fine because he has activated his status abnormality resistance skill for motion sickness. He says he will never get carsick again. Maya snaps in irritation and calls it a waste of his abilities. Ignoring her frustration, he asks her to teach him how to use the smartphone, including messages, contacts, and ringtone settings. A message from Chiyo appears on the screen, but only half of it is visible. Saito grows irritated. Maya tells him to tap it to see the full message. He tries but fails, and the message disappears. She explains that it will reappear if he slides the screen. He still does not understand. When she tells him to put his finger on top, he holds it above the display instead. Exhausted, Maya corrects him and patiently guides him step by step. Saito sighs and complains that it is too difficult for an old man like him. Maya stares at him blankly and reminds him that he is only 34, about the same age as her mother, who uses a smartphone just fine. At that moment, the divine pieces appear on Saito's shoulders. 3 magical divine circles form above his head, visible only to him. Sparks of light descend and modify the phone. Maya watches in shock and asks what he has done. Saito smiles and shows her a new button on the top of the phone. With a smug grin, he explains that pressing the button while thinking about wanting to read a message transmits his will. Maya grows irritated as she realizes he is operating the smartphone entirely through willpower. He can perform all tasks using intent alone, even adding a physical button that modern smartphones no longer have. It feels like a return to an older era of phones, though the button's placement is awkward. She looks at his face and thinks that at least he seems happy. Saito proudly declares that he can now use a smartphone properly and reply to messages. He focuses his will and requests information about the Shimogami. Maya asks why it matters. He explains that it is important to know who one is facing, whether for conversation or for battle. They need to understand why the Shimogami are moving now. The same strange voice echoes in his mind again and calmly tells him that it already has the perfect lead. The Shrine Maiden girl from the previous day claimed to be from the Shimogami. Anticipating Saito's need, the voice has placed her in storage, waiting to be used. Listening to this, Saito tells Maya that the Shimogami Shrine Maiden from yesterday is inside his skills storage. Maya cannot believe it, and grows worried, fearing for the girl's safety after being left there overnight. In the room, standing before the black hole-like magical structure of the skill's storage, Maya anxiously asks if the girl is still alive and worries about doing this there, since her mother is downstairs. Saito calmly explains that he has placed a barrier, so no sound can be heard, and reveals that this room once belonged to Kanako's father. He tells Maya they will check first and asks her to stay behind him and remain cautious. Saito looks into the storage and sees the girl sleeping peacefully on a bed. She wakes up slowly, stretches like it is a calm morning, reaches for a biscuit on the side table, then lies back down in boredom before finally noticing Saito staring at her. She quickly covers herself and angrily shouts at him for looking while she is naked. Saito immediately throws her a suit, which she wears, looking unexpectedly attractive. She calls him master and says she has been waiting for him, admitting she was completely defeated by his Shikigami and has no intention of disobeying him. Saito remains cautious and wonders if she is truly the same woman from yesterday. She insists again and offers a slavery contract to prove her loyalty, allowing him to summon her at any time. Maya, feeling awkward, asks what is happening, and Saito tells her there is no need for hostility. Maya notices his red face, and he brushes it off, saying it is hard to talk like this, and suggesting they bring the girl out. The girl thanks him, but Maya panics and protests. The girl suddenly pops out of the black hole, falls onto Saito, and clings to him seductively while begging him to save her. Saito is shocked, and Maya shouts, calling the girl Haruka. Haruka apologizes, and Saito, confused, learns from an embarrassed Maya that Haruka is the student council representative at her high school. Maya cannot believe she is a Shimogami. Haruka looks relieved and says she is no longer with them, revealing that she is actually a Nekomata. She explains that the Shimogami headquarters will suspect her of leaking information after her capture, and that she wants to stay there to avoid being killed. Feeling uncomfortable, Saito tells her to step back and demands everything she knows about the Shimogami so he can protect his childhood friend and her family, promising her safety. Haruka agrees, saying she is fine as long as she is protected, though she admits she knows little. She explains that the Shimogami call Maya's mother's eye the evil eye that brings disaster, and that many signs recently suggest the disaster is approaching. Maya is shocked, and Saito senses the truth in Haruka's words, realizing this explains why the factions are moving now. Haruka says that is all she knows, but suddenly magical charms appear on her chest as it glows brightly. Saito orders Maya to step back, recognizing the curse activates after revealing information. He reassures Haruka and declares he will dispel it, placing his hand on her chest and entering her body to reach the curse. Haruka cries out in pain and pants as he explains there are multiple layers and asks her to remain calm. He apologizes for the pain and carefully reaches deeper, telling her to endure a little longer until his hand reaches her heart and destroys the final spell. He calls himself the great sage Saito and threatens Yuman, swearing to take his head if he does not repent. Maya stands behind them with a stiff expression as both breathe heavily afterward. Saito drinks water and offers some to Haruka, who thanks him. Maya then explodes in anger, scolding him for doing this in someone else's house. Saito calmly explains he only removed the curse and says saving Haruka makes it acceptable. Maya asks what they should do next, knowing Haruka will never return to the Shimogami. Haruka happily declares she will do anything, but Saito tells her she does not need to say it like that, and asks if she will lend them her power. A voice in his mind warns him that monsters can kill him at any time. Haruka admits it is difficult after being used by a malicious old man, but declares she now has a strong and handsome new master, eagerly calling him master and expressing her belief in his victory. Haruka is a Nekomata and a former magic user of the Shimogami school within the Onmyuji group, the place where the foxes reside, and it is there that she once let her target escape after listening to Saito, a great sage returned from another world and an existence that stands apart from ordinary humans. In the room, while Saito lies resting, he murmurs that he is beginning to understand what the Shimogami are after, though he still cannot grasp why the Kashidzu clan is targeting Kanako's eyes. Haruka appears beside him in her cat form and quietly reflects that he was dragged into chaos the moment he returned from another world, then calls out to him. Saito asks why she came back, meets her cat-like gaze, and falls silent as his thoughts unravel. Realizing he returned seeking true happiness yet has no memories of his former life in Japan and now stands surrounded by two hostile factions. Overcome, he breaks down and cries, lamenting that despite meeting women he cannot find happiness even once, trapped in a hollow crisis in his 30s. Haruka grows worried as he asks weakly for a kiss, and she shifts into her human form while he anxiously asks for affection if she feels sympathy. Loud noises suddenly erupt outside, drawing them to the door and down into the shop where thugs are shouting at Kanako to sell the place or suffer consequences. Saito slips into the shadows and realizes Kanako has been dealing with the Yakuza, his attention locking onto a sharp-looking man among them, whose presence stirs a sensation identical to the moment Saito first saw Kanako after returning from the other world, making him suspect some unseen connection. The thugs leave, Kanako apologizes for startling him, and Saito apologizes in return for failing to intervene and checks on her condition. Though she claims composure, her trembling betrays her fear, igniting Saito's rage as he suppresses the urge to kill them and instead urges going to the police. Kanako admits one of the men is Ryuki, the younger brother of her childhood friend Tatsuya, shocking Saito as he realizes the implication. Yet he cannot press further without revealing himself, and is left searching for a way to help. The following morning, the thugs smear blood across the shop shutter, alarming the neighbors, and Kanako insists on opening as usual so Maya will not panic. Back upstairs, Maya tells Saito she will calm her mother by acting normal, eating quickly, and leaving for school, snapping at him when he suggests breakfast together and declaring she is relying on him. Saito understands and feels disgusted with himself, knowing he cannot allow a younger brother to act freely while others suffer. That night, he walks through the sky above the city as Haruka emerges halfway from storage and reacts in shock, only to grow excited when he calmly tells her it is possible with practice. She notices his hardened expression and senses restrained anger, though he claims composure. Haruka reveals she sensed no magic from the men earlier, and Saito orders his divine pawn and knight, declaring a Sicilian defense and commanding them to locate the targets. Haruka doubts his calm and warns that the Yakuza are backed by the Kashidzu clan, admitting they are dangerous and that flying openly while releasing magic will alert them to his trap. Saito coldly orders her to crush them regardless, and when the night piece locates the thugs in the streets, Saito informs Haruka and declares they will proceed with the Najdorf variation. Saito appears on the same street, and one of the men nervously tells Ryuki that someone descended from the sky. Saito fixes Ryuki with a cold stare, realizing he is his little brother and sensing that Ryuki treats everything like a game. Smoking casually, Ryuki arrogantly tells Saito that his expression irritates him and that he feels insulted, adding that he heard Saito works as a bouncer for the clothing shop. Saito reflects on his prior research yet still fails to recognize him as his brother and calmly states that the shop owner is troubled by Ryuki's actions and would appreciate it if they stopped immediately. Ryuki replies with scorn, saying he is trying to get rid of the shop because she has always been kind, which he finds annoying. Saito responds firmly that kindness deserves respect and warns him that he seems unfit for violence. Ryuki scoffs and claims he is well paid, boasting that he borrowed muscle to crush people with absurd powers like Saito. Two more men stand behind him, and Saito recognizes them as members of the Kashidzu clan. One announces they borrowed Brother Yukyu's skill, while the other declares he will take on both sides. They rush Saito together, and though Saito senses little magic, he remains alert to their control over it. He leaps into the air as one thug jumps after him and strikes from behind. But Saito dodges cleanly, grabs the attacker's arm, and swings him down into his partner before landing and finishing them with a decisive blow. Ryuki shouts in shock, demanding to know what Saito is doing, and Saito snaps back that it was only a backfist. From afar, Kashidzu watches and laughs, recognizing Saito as a powerful sage and deciding this is enough to retreat. Ryuki stares upward in disbelief, shouting that this was not the plan when three strange figures suddenly surround Saito and two of them carry away the fallen men. Ryuki, pleased, calls them reinforcements and orders them to kill Saito, but the female among them announces their withdrawal and leaves. Ryuki demands an explanation as they disappear, while Saito watches silently, sensing their superior strength and wondering why they retreat despite their advantage. Ryuki yells that they have been extorting under Shimogami orders backed by Kashidzu and were promised protection, but no answer comes. Saito then coldly asks what Ryuki plans to do now and warns him to stay away from the shopping district if he values his life. Broken, Ryuki collapses to his knees in frustration, and Saito calls him an idiot before walking away. A week passes with no movement from either faction, and Kanako later tells Saito she is going out to shop, relieved that Ryuki and his men have vanished. Maya wakes complaining that the peace is boring and that they have too much idle time, irritating Saito as he remarks that peace should be welcomed, though unease lingers within him. Suddenly, Ryuki appears again, and Saito greets him curtly before turning stern, warning him not to repeat his mistakes. Ryuki remains arrogant and tells him not to speak familiarly, insisting he listen, when a girl strikes Ryuki on the head with a stick and scolds his attitude. The beautiful blonde woman sharply tells him to discard his pride and turns to Saito with a smile, asking if he is the great sage, which he awkwardly confirms. She announces that the Kashidzu clan has withdrawn from Kanako's affairs and will no longer target the city, though they now face trouble with the Shimogami and therefore have a request. She bows deeply, revealing her figure, and asks Saito to take their organization under his protection, forcibly pressing Ryuki's head down and ordering him to beg, while Saito stands frozen in stunned silence. At first, Saito casually refuses, but the lady grows irritated and declares she will kneel and kiss his feet until he agrees, drawing the attention of people nearby, prompting Saito to firmly ask both of them to come inside to talk, since it makes no sense for the gang that terrorized the shopping district to suddenly seek alliance. As they move, the lady is abruptly stopped by an invisible magic shield, her body pressed against it in an awkward way that shocks both Saito and Maya, leaving the lady flustered as she complains about being trapped. Maya angrily demands to know who she is, and the lady introduces herself as Ariona Rubalt, director of the Japan branch of the Republic of Rutmanmari National Trade Association. Saito casually dismisses the shield with a flick of his fingers and measures her magic wavelength, revealing she is a dwarf, which Ariona admits is only half true, stunning Maya, who blurts out disbelief at her appearance, earning a sharp glare from Saito as he internally notes the irony of a fox spirit schoolgirl saying that. Inside the shop, Saito remarks that he did not know dwarves existed in this world, and Ariona explains that while rare in Japan, they are common in her country and skilled in metalworking magic due to their trade in rare metals, catching Saito's interest. When he asks why she came so far and took such risks, Ariona explains that half-bloods like her are shunned back home, and her honest hot springs business failed until Kashidzu forced her to help drive out certain shop owners, one of whom was tied to the Shimogami school. Ryuki adds that once Kashidzu's backers vanished, they were targeted in retaliation by the Shimogami and now need Saito's help, only to be scolded sharply by Ariona for his tone. Saito listens without much sympathy, sensing no goodwill and realizing they were used and discarded, yet unable to fully turn them away knowing Kashidzu and recognizing Ryuki as his little brother. He finally states that he will protect them from Shimogami followers on Kashidzu's behalf, surprising Ariona and provoking Maya's anger as she calls them naive and reminds Saito of the damage done to their store, to which he calmly replies that he has not forgotten and that this protection is not free. He reaches into the black hole and produces chunks of ore, placing rhodium on the table and asking Ariona to sell it, stunning her as he piles more pieces down. When she asks about its value in the other world, Saito briefly wonders how much they know about him, then explains that iron was prioritized for war there and valuables like this were overlooked, admitting with an awkward smile that he only has 2,000 yen and intended to use this as startup capital. Ariona quickly understands his intent, estimates the haul at over 400,000 yen, and agrees as they pack the ore and shake hands, with Saito telling her he is counting on her and Ariona, replying that it is a small price for his protection before leaving with Ryuki. Ryuki hands Saito a business card with Ariona's address, warns him seriously to protect her, and walks away, leaving Saito murmuring that Ryuki seems smitten, which Maya dismisses as outdated phrasing while Saito shrugs it off and smiles at the thought of finally having money, deciding to go big for once and wondering what Haruka would like. Outside the salty bento shop, Haruka speaks from the black hole, complaining that the other world's food does not suit someone confined like her, prompting Saito to apologize and tell her to choose freely, only for her to casually ask about him as he explains Kanako usually cooks. He then buys ice cream, and Haruka dryly asks if this is what he meant by going big. Smiling softly, Saito murmurs that he thinks this ice cream is the right choice, and Haruka dryly replies that if he plans to splurge he should at least go for Häagen-Dazs. He answers that it is not about the price, but about how long it has been since he last ate ice cream, and she remarks that if so, then it makes no difference whether he buys it now or after getting paid, adding bluntly that she hates saying this to the man who saved her life. She reminds him that he is supposed to be the great sage and advises that while his folksy side is charming, he should not overdo it and should carry himself with more authority. He apologizes, and she tells him not to cry. At that moment, Ariona calls and calmly reports that the estimated value is around 5 billion yen, leaving Saito utterly frozen in shock, as she adds that she will bring him some cash as soon as possible. Excitement erupts inside him, and he suddenly jumps into action, buying everything in sight, while Haruka watches with genuine happiness at seeing him smile so freely. He eventually returns home, where Kanako warmly welcomes him, and when he asks what she is doing, she explains she is finally putting away the winter clothes she left untouched for a long time. He tells her he bought ice cream and suggests taking a break, mentioning that he also has a few things he wants to ask. Kanako brightens at the sight of the ice cream, and when he asks if she likes it, she says it brings back fond memories, recalling how it was sold at elementary and junior high school sports festivals at a stall by the gate. She remembers wanting it badly, but being too shy to stand in line alone while everyone else queued with friends, until a kind boy noticed her and pulled her along. She takes a bite, blushes, and says it tastes exactly like the ice cream she ate back then with Tatsuya. Saito smiles and says he is glad she likes it, and she gently tells him he can stay even if he gets a job, noting that this is the first time she has seen him spend money and thinking he must have found work. He agrees and reflects that when he first met her he had nothing but a trash can lid, while now he has clothes and money, making him think it may be time to stop being a burden. He asks to share the household expenses, but Kanako replies that things have been peaceful lately, the shopping district has calmed down, and even Maya has settled a bit, laughing as she recalls how rough and aggressive Maya used to be. Saito understands that Maya was only trying to protect Kanako and feels the weight of responsibility she carried at such a young age, hoping he has eased that burden even slightly. Kanako thanks him sincerely, saying these changes are because of him and that she would like him to stay, stepping a little closer and adding that he has changed Ryuki as well. When he reacts in confusion, she simply smiles and says it is a woman's instinct. Saito reflects on Ryuki's furious expression and the strained relationship they share, sensing that his crude attitude may be a form of resistance toward those born with talent and power, and he believes the truth of their bond would only wound him further. He came back to save people, yet everywhere he looks someone is hurting. Kanako breaks the silence by saying she needs to put the remaining ice cream in the freezer, and lost in thought Saito mutters that this is difficult, startling her into asking what he means, after which nothing else is said. For the next half-month, nothing happens. Chiyo never responds about negotiations with the Shimogami school. Maya reacts in disbelief to the 5 billion yen and jokes about bathing in money. And although Saito never learns Kashizu's true intentions, there is no movement from any side. The fragile peace shatters when heavy rain begins and the Shimogami attack Ryuki's office. Back at the shop, Kanako suggests closing early due to the storm and urges Saito to rest. But as he agrees, he suddenly senses a powerful magical presence approaching. He sees Ariona rushing toward the shop with Ryuki on her shoulders and laying him at Saito's feet, his body battered, bleeding, and barely conscious, as she urgently explains that the Shimogami and monsters assaulted his office. Saito feels a sharp alarm, realizing he had warded that very location, and knows he must heal him immediately. Kanako steps out and freezes in horror at the sight, while Ariona begs Saito to hurry. His mind goes blank as fear grips him that using magic before Kanako could awaken her eyes, and Maya's warning echoes in his thoughts, about those eyes possessing the same power as the Demon King and bringing ruin to the world if awakened, reminding him of Kanako's gentle and loving nature that must be protected at all costs. As Kanako and Ariona anxiously call his name, Ariona blurts out that Ryuki is his brother, shocking Saito, who realizes that as long as the thread of life remains he can save him, though there will be no second chance. He finally summons his divine queen piece, and it begins healing Ryuki as Kanako watches everything unfold in stunned silence. Trembling with worry, she asks if Ryuki is his brother, and Saito turns to her with a grave expression and tells her he will explain everything after he returns.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away. Had to find the person I'd be